Om Bhairavaya Namaha. Om Hingulambikaya Namaha. Om Kamakyaya Namaha. Om Kalakalaya Vidmahe Kalatitaya Dhimahi Tannah Kalabhairava Prachodayat. Namaskaram. Welcome to yet another video of Bhairavanugraha. This would be the continuity of the last video about Guru Diksha. There are the three aspects which are majorly important when it comes to the Tantra-Shastra. Okay. So for the any kind of a spiritual success, we need these three limbs. We call it as three limbs, or we can call it as three essence, which is very important for a success in the Sadhana Paddhati or in the spiritual path. It is Tantra, Yantra and Mantra. Here, these three is a very broader subject when it comes to the discussion topic. However, today we will talk more about Mantra, because Mantra is the most important, because it is used both in Tantra as well as in Yantra. Without Mantra, Tantra and Yantra cannot be practiced at all. So it is all tantric rituals requires mantra. So unless the proper mantra recitation or knowing the meaning of the mantra or what is the reason behind using the mantra will not be a so we can call it as the fruitful results what we are expecting to. Unless you know the reason why we are trying to do the status or why we are doing the activity, you would be doing much more intensely. Similarly, mantra, once you get to know what is the importance of the mantra, how exactly mantra is being imbibed or how it is being invoked, or which particular rishi has been initiated this, or what is the length of it. Again, I'll talk about this in detail later. But however, the mantra plays very vital role when it comes to the Tantra as well as Yantra Shastra. Tantra is a pure as well as a sacred practice that exists since both in Vedic times. Here again, as I always tell, it has both the limbs as um, margas, whatever we call it as Anugraha Marga, Devata Marga. In both the Devata and Anugraha Marga, we have to have the Tantra getting involved in it, such that the outcome of the results will be much more potent. From the Vedas, mainly from the Atharvaveda, I believe you would be knowing it, from the Atharvaveda, which contains a main spiritual powers. Other ancient texts like even Shiva Purana, Devi Purana, or even the Agni Purana, all this actually directs towards us towards the Tantra. Okay, apparently Tantra is a base of the spirituality. We can call it as, if any kind of a Vedic rituals need to be performed, Tantra is utilized in all the steps of the Puja Viddhati. In Puja Paddhati, normally even drawing the Chaturasha Mandala, what we call it as when we do a Avahana or when we do a Prana Pratishtapana in any of the deities during the process, we normally do a Chaturasha Mandala. Chaturasha Mandala is somewhat like a drawing a two different triangles upward and downwards, forming a Yantra, Shiva Shakti Yantra, where which actually we will do a Avahana of the Devata. So this actually forms a Yantra, and also this Yantra formation is also a part of Tantra. Unfortunately, over the time, some people have misused the Tantra. The word is being used mostly on a selfish reason perspective, leading to the negative practices like abhichara karma, or we can call it as any kind of considering the wrong actions. The Yantra or Tantra is being used nowadays. While a small part of a tantra deals with such practices, they are originally meant not only for the extreme situations. However, due to the misuse of a tantric was criticized and seen as a oppose in the Vedas. So that is the reason actually Tantra and Agamas are often used in a interchangeability. Okay, so Agamas are three types. Mainly, we can call it as these are the pillars of the Tantra. Agamas are the three pillars of the Tantra. We call it as Panchakshari Agama, which is also called as in today we can also call it as Shaiva Tantra, and we have somewhat like Shaiva Gama, where which we normally worship the Shiva, where Tantra is being utilized in that part. Panchakshari Marga is actually like worshipping Vishnu, okay, whereby Vishnu we invoke a Tantra in which actually we activate the energies or invoke or embed the energies of the Vishnu in the tantric form from this particular agamas. Shakta agamas is actually very potently used nowadays, which is nothing but Ma Shakti, utilizing worshipping Shakti and the goddess's energies to get this energies. One of the major potent currently being used or being very potent today is Dashamahavidya. Even Dashamahavidya is part of a Shakti Agamas. Okay, this is one of a pillar of a Tantra. And today, in the part of the Kali Yuga, where people draw a material pleasure, we always have a tend. Just to give an example, whenever I speak to the people, out of 100 people, 99% of people have a only tendency towards their current existent situations. That is the worldly pleasure, materialistic success. So I see that actually today being in such a um, advanced situation also, we have all the required resources available with us, but we still lag behind towards the Maya. So as Kali Yuga is being driven by Maya, so Kali Purusha is actually fully invoked, where actually his presence is in such a way that we always have something to grab in our life. In Kali Yuga, worshipping Shakti is considered as the easiest way to find the happiness. Maybe to even activate Shakti, Bhairava Anugraha is very very important. Anytime when we do any kind of an 64 yoginis or Dashamahavidyas or any kind of a devatas, Devi activation is being done, Bhairava is being initially activated. So today I would like to share some information about the Bhairava mantra. But before understanding the mantra, I would be reciting only one mantra in this particular video, where I don't want to make this as prolonged as a mantra aspects, where actually the meaning of the each word is being said and you understand it, and we trying to decode about that. More than that, I'm trying to convey here about what exactly the mantra is, how exactly this is going to support us, what are the required mantras in the tantric process, or we call it as Tantra-Shastra, which is going to help us. Here, under the Yantra, or I can, before even touching about the mantra of the Bhairava, I would like to touch a small information about the Yantras. See, Yantras are physically diagrams, or we call it as in designs, or we call it as in Rangoli, or whatever it is there. It is actually, Rangoli is a common word today in the South India, where people even outside of the house, it is in Vadike, or we call it as a ritual, which is being put across in the front of the house, just to ensure that the proper positive vibes actually get activated from the bhumi. So Yantra is very very powerful when it comes to the tantric rituals, okay, and where the deity represents the physical form. Normally, even the devata, before making them reside in that particular yantra, we normally invoke the tantra in the form of yantra, where yantra is being drawn, and in the above the top of the yantra there would be a deity, physical deity, which will be placed. You see, whatever the temples or whatsoever the powerful places, what we call it as daiva, kshetra. Those kshetras are actually being activated through the yantras. Basically, not only one particular yantra, there were the multiple layers of the yantras are being used just to ensure that the energy of the deity is much more reverberating in the landscape. So yantra symbolizes a divine energy. So basically, through the geometric patterns, what we use it. However, each deity has a multiple different yantras. So worshipping yantra used for the praying to the deities, and protection is also been one of a pattern where yantra is being used. So for example, bringing the health, for example, to bring the wealth into the one's life, or to have a protections against a particular sadhaka, or whenever you do any kind of a sadhana, normally we do a certain symbol, like whatever we call it as a yantra is being drawn on top of the yantra, the sadhaka would be sitting and they would be performing the sadhana. This will be a protecting the sadhaka from all the negative aspects or the negative reverberations across the sadhaka during the process of the sadhana. Similarly, there is something called as a kavacha. We tell like a kavacha activation. There is a kavacha mantra also, in which during the kavacha activation there is a particular form of yantra which are being virtually being drawn to activate against the each resident, or we call it as each sadhaka or whosoever uses that mantra. So before I would also tell that yantra is a combination of akshara and it is a certain symbols, we call it a certain symbols, as well as a numbers which has been embedded into a certain parameters. Particularly in a simple form, there would be a 9 boxes. Out of 9 boxes, there would be a certain numbers which would be written, along with there would be certain letters and certain mantras which would be written on that particular yantra, which will make the yantra active, or we call it as prana into the yantra. So this is a very short insight about the yantra. I would surely cover about a detailed discussion about these three limbs very detailedly in another call. Maybe now, as we have initiated to discuss about the mantra, we will talk more about the mantra perspective. See, mantra can be divided into two parts: man and tra. Okay, man is actually the manas. We call it as whatever we call powerful force. We know everything we experience in this world created by this mind. Man is nothing but the mind. We don't see reality as it truly is. We only see the version shaped by our thoughts and perceptions. So normally what happens is, whenever we see any kind of a visualization outside of us, it is only through the visual we will be able to see, and the mind actually takes the creates everything. So mind is powerful force, we know. So that is the man, that is a man in mantra. Tra is actually save or a free. So making mind free is mantra. Okay. So the way the free the mind from its limitations, using a sound and the vibration, is called as a mantra. These sounds influences like consciously leading our real, changing our life in our mind and even in around the world around we live. So mantras can also be seen a way to connect with the divine energies and gradually bringing their presence into our lives. So mantra plays very vital role when it comes to the mantra sadhana paddhati. Invoking any deities, normally mantra is one of the way or the means of connecting to the deva. So mantra plays very vital role when it comes even to the Bhairava sadhana paddhati. Regular chanting can help the sadhaka embodying their connecting close connection with the deity, enhancing our spiritual experiences with him or with her. But this can happen only through the initiation. Okay, the energy works and transformation works only through the guru who pours the initiation into the sadhaka. So if you have not seen the last video, please go through, such that actually you get to know what the importance of the guru when it comes to the sadhana paddhati. So Ancient samanas using this technique, ancient people actually use this particular technique, and it is still being utilized. And even if you talk about undated, even to do any kind of a sadhana paddhati, there is always a particular sound and the vibration in the form of the mantra is being used to invoke the daiva. Personally, when you use the mantras, automatically it is a powerful personality shift will happen, aligning with your mind as well as with the energy in combination of a particular mantra. It is not like actually you see some mantra on a online and start reciting in it. It is somewhat like you reading a book without knowing what is the outcome of that book. Or um, you may be hearing this one particular mantra somewhere across when you are passing the roads, and you think that actually this is a divine force has called you upon and you are trying to chant those mantra. Even if you chant that mantra even for lakhs of times, the proper results will not be there. I cannot tell that actually results will not be there at all. It will be there, but the proper outcome will not be able to achieve it with that particular form of initiation of the mantras. So basically, whether you see it and invoke or mentally or reprogramming it, it is always the results are same. So basically, mantras um, can be recited in the three forms. Consciously itself is a mystical way, we can call it as. Scientist says that it comes from the brain activity. So even today science has also agreed that certain reverberation of certain particular mantra create a particular sine wave or a theta waves into our brain, which will make our brain much more capable to handle the situations as well as to utilize both the right as well as the left brain for our activity of our day. So mantra is not the myth. Consciously itself is it is a mysterious way where even scientists have decoded this, that using this mantra can do a wonders in humans life. There are a lot of documentaries today available in the YouTube where you can go through and you will get to know more about how exactly mantra can change one's life. But when it nearly truly measure or a study of a subjective experience, basically it depends upon how exactly you are invoking it, what is the bhava you carrying it, what are the times or what is the muhurta you sit and recite it. It is not that actually in the go live or sitting somewhere, sitting on the corner of the road doing the mantra. Yes, it will work, I'm not denying it, but the the outcome of the action will be very minimal. Okay? So the particular situation, particular place will also matters a lot when we invoke any particular of a mantra in life. The same apply to the reality. It is like a form of a music as unseen force emerging from the universe deep into the workings. So it is all about decoding the information or the the vibrations going into a cellular way of an into our bodies, which will make each cell more activate. So normally we see that actually mantra uh, is being recited very casually. I always tell, if you are a sadhaka, especially from a Bhairava sadhaka perspective, never ever take that even a simple mantra or japa is actually can be taken into granted, because each mantra of Bhairava is still alive. It reverberate around us once you start reciting it in a proper way, and it will give you a results whatever is being expected from you. Worldly things or spiritual enhancement, or it may be anything. It all depends upon each individual sadhaka how exactly he wants to experience the this particular life. To put it into a simple word, mantra is nothing but a sacred sound. Okay, perhaps with a deeper spiritual power it has. And there are many meanings and the definitions today available across the social media as well as the YouTube documentaries, but perhaps it contains a discipline and the high on a very high level consciousness. So it has very powerful when it comes to knowing what about the mantra is all about. There is a one book called as in the power of mantra. And even there are many yogis who have already written about the power of the mantra. But mantra, why they call it as powerful or a sacred sound, and why it holds a divine energy, is all because of the particular, what we call it as, varnamala, or the placement of a particular syllables in a particular fashion, which will make those sentences into a more reverberating way. Just like a tree exists without a seed in an invisible form, a deity power is hidden in a mantra. So mantra are like seeds, or we call it as unseen power, okay, invisible form of the deity's power. So mantra chanting, Purusha, we call it as even the Purusha Sharana normally, can be a spiritual success, fulfilling all the desires of whosoever recites that. But when a proper initiation is being done from a guru, is there would not be so much of effectiveness. The guru removes the ignorance first and guides a disciple or a sadhaka in a right path. Without proper training, using the mantra is like a planting a seed on a stone. It will not grow. Sometimes it may grow depending upon the circumstance, but again, I am trying to tell you that the yield of the particular outcome will not be so much effective when it doesn't comes, this particular mantra is not been initiated from the guru himself. Mantra purification practices is a very essential when it comes to the mantra shodashana, or we call it as a purification of the mantra, ensuring which mantra suits for the particular practitioner. We as an individual sadhaka will not be knowing about this. This is always been taught by our gurus. Guru knows that what is your widely used mantra which is capable or which is going to be fruitful for your this lifetime, or what type of past life karmic actions you have carried, or which kind of a deity's sadhana you have done, or what type of upasana you have already done in your past life, which is going to enhance your current life, will only be known by the gurus. I'm not talking about the fake gurus, I'm talking about the gurus who are really serious about making the disciple go to the next level into the spiritual enhancement. Basically, it may be Narasimha, it may be Surya, it may be Mrutyunjaya, it may be Devi, or a particular purification. Normally, these are the stages of purification, normally it has been done. So, however, for a special desire and a success in the rituals, purification is always needed. Purification, mantra, shodashana, is very, very important. For a mantra to work, it must be chanted in the right time, right numbers. Okay, generally in today's time, the count is 4 times the original number prescribed. So, for example, if we tell actually do it 11 times, 11 into 4, because we have 4 sandhya, we call it as sandhya, like morning, sunrise, afternoon, evening, as well as midnight. So there are 4, that is before sunrise and sunset, 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after. This is called as in sandhya. Basically, it has to be recited in the 4 times in the 4 different slots. So in case if you have a guru and the guru has told you to recite this as a 11 times or 21 times, make sure that actually to get the more effective of any particular type of a mantra, recites in the 4 times originally in this particular prescribed parameters. Trust me, you will be able to see the different level of connection with the Daiva when you start reciting this in all the 4 Sandhya Kalas. Some mantras need extra syllables. For example, any mantra, certain forms of mantra, Guru actually will give this mantra that even if there is not there, he will add certain mantra with Om, Namah, Swaha, Fat, and Hum. These are the 5 major syllables, or we call it as a seeds of the mantra, which are very, very important, where Guru actually understand that this particular practitioner or a sadhaka need this at this point of time, and at the starting or the end or both the time he will be adding this, okay, which will enhance the chanting or the power of that particular mantra. Even it may be a small mantra, Om Bhairavaya Namah, Om Namah Bhairavaya Namah Fat, or Om Namah Bhairavaya Swaha, Om Hum Bhairavaya, Swaha, Fat. These are the different ways of actually adding the particular seeds or syllables in particular mantra, which will activate or which will make that mantra more potent in such a way that the fruitful results can be achieved. Or Vedic mantras do not require any kind of an additional, but must be understood fully, including, normally we call it as any kind of a mantras. Normally we normally use this mantras like who is a rishi, who is a sage, who has activated this mantra, who, what is a chanda. Chanda is actually like what is a meter, what is the length of it, which devata you are residing, daiva. Viniyoga is like what type of a purpose you are using to invoke this particular mantra. Shakti, what type of Shakti you have invoking to this particular mantra which will activate this, and which is Kilaka, which is very very important, which is called as an key lock, or even it can be called as an core principle of the particular mantra. Maybe at the end of this video, I'll be reciting the Ashtotra Shatanamavali of Kalabhairava, this particular Purusharana, or we can call it as actually um, Chandas, where you get to know about how exactly this is need to be recited. So basically, to achieve the success in the Siddhi, or any kind of a Siddhi or a success, if you need to achieve it in the Sadhana Paddhati, it is a mantra takes a time and efforts. It is not like sitting in a one day reciting for 108 times, automatically the full activation of the mantra would be done. No, it is always a particular time, particular window, and the particular numbers you need to do. That's how actually it works as. And basically, even my guru has also um, has initiated me with a different levels of a mantras. But when it comes to the particular mantra, um, on a special day also the initiation was being done, and later on I got to know the importance of it. One of them is actually eclipse, grahana, surya grahana as well as chandra grahana, which are very very powerful to have the initiation of the mantra, to recite the mantra. It has been said even in Shiva Purana as well as Linga Purana that reciting his name Panchakshari mantra for 108 times, it will give the reverberation of 108 times more. So it is like 108 times more energized when you recite any kind of a mantra during eclipses like Grahana. Responsible use of the mantras. Mantras should never be misused for a greed, hatred, or a personal gain. Okay, using them will have a negative purpose, somewhat like stambhana. Normally it is being done, but it has to be done with a certain kavacha, with a certain guru sanidhya, or it can be done only with the blessings of the guru. Such can be done depending upon, in case if any negative aspects is happening around you, those can also be done. But it is always said, whenever you recite any kind of a mantra, if you have any kind of a personal gain interest in that particular mantra chanting, it will not give you fruitful results. It is always good that actually you always deserve for something growth in your spiritual journey, which will always give you a best as well as a fruitful results when it comes to the mantra sadhana paddhati. So mantras should be used for a welfare of the humanity. So overall, any kind of a difficulties in one's life or surrounding us, mantra can be used. Lack of self-discipline, impurity, incorrect chanting, or a weak concentration, or a faith and the confidence, or a critical in success of mantra. These are very essentials. Whenever any mantra is being chanted, ensure that actually a proper discipline is being maintained. You ensure that the proper space you choose before you recite any mantras. Incorrect chanting. That's the reason Guru Sanidhya is very very important. He will guide you, nurture you, mold you, and he will correct you that which type of mantra is important for you, which particular daiva is actually going to be fruitful for you, and what type of mantra and what is the correct pronunciation of the mantra, he will be able to guide us. And the weak concentration, doing the mantra japa and thinking something else, is not going to give a fruitful results. It's always been said that whenever you do any kind of a mantra japa, always focus that on your third eye or on the tip of your nose. Your entire focus should be on there. Your mantra, you should connect with your daiva in such a way that it is only between you and him, or between you and her. That's the way of connection which you need to get connected to the daiva. And faith and confidence. If you don't have a faith when you do a mantra sadhana, it is not going to give any kind of a fruitful results. Always you need to have a faith on the deity as well as the mantra, which will give you a positive results in your life. The success of the mantra or any kind of a pilgrimage or a priest, deity or a medicine or a divine being and the guru, despite on one's faith only. So whatsoever you do in your life, it may be a mantra, it may be visiting to the pilgrimage, or it may be a priest, whichever the guru you visit, or it any kind of a medicine you intake, or a divine being, whatever you believe in, and guru, all these things depends upon your faith. So majorly it plays a very vital role when it comes to the faith and the confidence of what you are trying to do. The role of mindfulness in the mantra, you should be very very conscious whenever you decide. Even a simple mantra of Om Bhairavaya Namaha, this mantra also plays very 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 effectively once you do it in a proper way, once you invoke him in a proper way. um, the mouth should recite it properly. It is not like you mumble when you recite the mantra, or do it like uh, very quickly, which even you yourself could not understand it. Mantra should be pronounced in a proper way. The heart should focus on the meaning, what I'm trying to tell. Your heart should actually give a connection with the daiva, and mind should visualize the daiva in such a way that actually he is sitting in front of us in full love and surrenderness. You are actually invoking him and you doing the mantra sadhana. That will make very fruitful results. And your eyes should always be fixed on your nose or on your third eye, such that automatically and three-fourth of your head need to be lifted, such that actually automatically you get connected to the daiva when you do a mantra sadhana. It plays very very beautifully. This combination works. Only four parameters which need to be taken care. Proper recitation of a mantra. Mouth should recite it, not mumble it. Heart should visualize it. The heart should focus on the particular meaning of the mantra. The mind should visualize the daiva, what type of mantra or which daiva you are trying to call him. Your eyes or your focus should be on your third eye or on the tip of the nose whenever you do any kind of a mantra sadhana. So any distraction destroying the effect of the practice, getting in between, um, is not properly advised. Any kind of a spiritual liberation, or we call it as a moksha, reciting mantra sincerely will take you there. So that is the only path, or we can call it as this is the first milestone as a sadhaka. We need to ensure that to go connected to the daiva. Mantra japa or mantra sadhana paddhati is the only way. There are three ways to chant the mantra. Normally gurus will be able to guide you on depending upon your capabilities or your sadhana maturedness. He will be able to gauge it. Each of there it has its own effect, we call it as. First is actually vachika mantra or vachika japa. Vachika japa is means somewhat like loud recitation. Okay, it means that chanting the mantra out very loudly, somewhat like chanting the mantra very loudly in such a way that surrounding you the vibrations get created, help in getting a right mindset. For example, if your mind is not actually fully active and your mind is wandering here and there, or it is not getting concentrated, this vachika mantra is going to be very super effective for you to recite the mantra very loudly, such that automatically your energy surrounding you and your mind get connected to the daiva, and you feel that energy around you, and your mind will be focused. So vachika japa is one sort of it. Second is upamsa japa, which is called as an whispering. We normally do as a whispering, like mantra is whispered softly and requires a focus, and a loud chanting is not needed in it. Considering the power of the mantra, what type of a syllable or a seed is being invoked in it, it is full concentration and emotion is needed when you do any kind of an upamasya japa. Upamasya japa is very very essential when you grow in your sadhana paddhati, mantra sadhana paddhati, as a second step. There is a third step which is called as an manasa japa, very powerful mental recitation. Here actually, it is been recited silently and mentally. However, the hardest part of this is people struggle to maintain this. Even while speaking to you, we can actually chant the mantra behind our minds. That's the way of the mantra sadhana paddhati will make you to grow to the next level. Losing emotion, basically this holding this particular stage, what we call it as manasa japa, is very very difficult to the sadhaka. But with a proper practice and with a proper guidance from the guru, automatically anyone can actually get into there. Okay, that is a stage. Mechanical recitation is really not needed at any given point of time. Automatically your mind will be splitted in such a way, you will be doing your daily activities, automatically back of your mind the mantra recitation will be happening. That's the level of mantra japa, manasa mantra japa, or a mental recitation will happen in one sadhana paddhati. What truly defines as a mantra is somewhat like a mantra has many meanings, but most commonly I can tell is manat trayate iti mantraha. Manat trayate iti mantraha means that which protects this mind is a mantra. So this mind will be wambling around here and there, thinking about of all those things, not even making us to sit in a particular place, think about the deity, do his sadhana. No, he always, when we sit to the sadhana, our mind will be thinking that what is happening in my office, what is happening in my home, what is happening with my family life, what is actually, all these things actually is because of the mind. Okay. To control that, mantra is one of a tool. Okay. Manas manat trayate iti mantra. So the mantra, the whatever we call it as that which protect the mind is the mantra. That is actually a mantra being recited by Shankaracharya. He tells that actually this is the platform or the foundation of any sadhana paddhati. So even if you want to do a Bhairava sadhana, even doing a Nama Japa or his Nama Japa reciting as Om Bhairavaya Namaha, you require this particular way of process. So, however, to define does not fully explain what mantra is all about and does not even required, because in a Vedic scripture way each mantra has been divided into a different way. However, this knowledge comes from the guru. Basically, I can tell you from the information what I have received from my gurus are mantras are actually of six, what we call it as six limbs. It is called nyasa. Nyasa is very very important. Before reciting any kind of a mantra, the six stages you should know. As a sadhaka, you should know or you should pronounce this before you do any kind of practices. Without nyasa, most powerful mantra will not have minimal effect at all. So it will not give a fruitful results. So you check any of the mantras. It may be Vishnu Sahasranama, it may be Devi Kavacha, it may be Shiva Kavacha, it may be Bhairava Kavacha, or it may be even Lalita Sahasranama. Everything starts with Nyasa. Okay, so Nyasa is very very important. It's a six limbs of mantra. First is about the Rishi, as I told you earlier, the sage who first realized that or received this mantra. That's a Rishi. Devata. Devata is associated with particular mantra, which particular Devata you are invoking with. Shakti, what energy or a force of the mantra is channel unique, right? Bija, the seed or the sound, or we call it as essence of the mantra, energy. What is a bija is been involved in it. Next is Chanda. Chanda is a meter, or we call it a rhythm of the mantra. What type of a rhythm, what type of a pronunciation, reverberation which we need to do it. Kilaka is very very essential in the six limbs in the mantra sadhana, which is a pin. We call it as a lock, the key that holds everything together of the mantra. Traditionally, mantra or and stotra means these six part of the start of the composition is very very essential. It may be in Vedic or it may be in the Tantric way of doing the sadhana paddhati. Whenever we do any kind of a Vama Marga or a Dakshina Marga type of sadhana, Both margas has this nyasa. So nyasa is very very basic. You as a sadhaka we need to know about this. One of the most essential principle in working with the mantras is nyasa. So nyasa means installing the mantra into a particular part of the body. While doing a nyasa, it is also the particular parts of the body is being touched, and one particular mantra is being recited, such that actually the daiva in 72 nadis get activated. So maybe you would be knowing it. Apart from seven chakras, we have 72,000 nadis, which is very essential to get connected to the daivas. Okay, so guru role is not just to teach or pronounce the mantra. He guides through a complete process of mantra, and he awakens the mantra to you. So it's very very essential when you get the mantra diksha from the guru. In this way we have a multiple mantras. It's been said that even in Shiva Purana all the mantras have come from Paramatma, our Mahadeva himself, where he has given us more than 7 lakh mantras, out of which there are very few mantras which is available today in the Kali Yuga which can be recited, because the sages have not given all the mantras to everyone, which is opened, or Kilaka has been open to everyone where the accessibility is there. So it is very essential where Guru gauges your sadhana Paddhati, and he analyzes your sadhana where exactly it's standing, and automatically he'll give the particular mantra to you to recite it. If you want to recite any kind of a Ashtottara, Shatanamavali, especially Kalabhairava Ashtakam, normally this is the way we need to. Asya Shri Kalabhairava Ashtottara Shatanamavali Stotra Mahamantrasya Vishnu Rushihi Anushtuh Chandaha Shri Kalabhairava Devatam Sarva Siddhi Jaya Ayur Arogya Abhaya Siddhyarte Japa Vinayoga. Here there are 6 stages: Rishi, Devata, Shakti, Bija, Chandaha, as well as Kilakam. I'm not going to split this because this is a very um, the second level of information need to be known when you do a upasana, when you do a mantra sadhana to the highest level. You automatically would be knowing this. So with this, I believe I was able to give you a little highlight information about mantra sadhana paddhati. We'll connect in the one more topic in the next video. Om Bhairavaya Namaha. Om Bhairavaya Namaha. Om Hingulambikaya Namaha. Om Kamakyaya Namaha. Om Hingule Paramahingule Amritarupini Tanushakti Manashiveshwari Hingulaya Namaha. Namaskaram.